Hi, I'm Anthony for Sydney Backyard Veggies. We're in the middle of June now and my winter garden is in full swing. Got plenty of brassicas in the patch, lots of peas and lots of winter greens. I'm going to come through and show you where my garden patch is at the moment, and also give you an indication of what I'm going to do as we move into late winter and early spring. I'm over at my main bed here and just starting here on the southern side of the main patch. I've actually planted my sugar snap peas. Now these ones I had planted in early April, but because of the big rains that we had early in this season, a lot of them really got smashed around, so I came through and supplemented them with a lot of seedlings. Now they are getting there and they are just starting to flower, which is great, and we are getting a few peas showing up, but I am running a bit late this season on sugar snap peas, but hopefully I'm hoping to get a bit of a crop. Coming across from the peas, and this is my main brassica bed. Over at this end we have 4 rows of cauliflower. The whole bed was planted out in mid-March and these cauliflowers are just starting to form heads. This variety is called Serenity. It's a really nice white fleshed tight curd cauliflower, and I've been planting this as my mainstay throughout my patch, and I harvested that first planting a couple of videos ago. Hoping to start harvesting this patch in the next week, and hopefully once this bed is cleared in about 4 weeks time, I'll be looking at planting this season's tomatoes in this spot. Coming across from the cauliflower, and here in front I've got my red cabbages. Now this cabbage variety is called Red Queen, and again this was planted at the same time as those cauliflowers. I've got 2 rows here of about 16 plants and they're looking really good. I'm just starting to get the first heads forming on these plants, so really excited about that. Again, I'm expecting to harvest these in about 6 weeks time. I'll start harvesting these, so late July, early August. And then adjacent to that is my main cabbage patch, and this is my green cabbage, and this variety is called Green Coronet. Now this is the variety I grew last year, and I had put out some really nice heads and slow to bolt, which is a really good about this variety. Now the heads, I've got heads of various sizes and they are starting to put on a lot of bulk. Again, like the red cabbage, they do need fertilizer, so there'll be an application of dynamic lifter pellets added this afternoon. I'm hoping that these will start being harvested before the red cabbage. They just seem to be a larger plant, and maybe it comes down to the variety. Again, I'll start harvesting these in mid-July and hopefully I'll clear this bed, and I'm expecting continuation of my tomato crop all the way across to the end of the green cabbages here. It's going to be a big season for tomatoes in my patch. And coming across here to the last of the bed, and this is the last of my second planting of broccoli. I've been harvesting this over the last few weeks, and the heads here, the plants are really impacted by how much sun they get. It's actually quite a shady spot here in winter, and I find that if you don't give broccoli enough sun, they do take longer to form heads, and the heads aren't as big, but what it does is it does spread out that harvest. I did have 30 plants in this location, and progressively been harvesting it, and it's been good to have them for the table. Now once this is harvested, I will be planting the last of this season's cauliflower in this patch. I've got them as seedlings at the moment, still about 2-3 weeks away, but they will come into this patch, and then once they're harvested I will be starting to look at planting summer crops in here. Coming over to the back half of the main patch, and over here I've got my shelling peas. This variety is called Telephone, and it's just a really big plant, and with peas I really always struggle. It always seems, no matter how much time and effort I take to provide trellising for them, they always seem to get snapped by the wind and stuff like that. I have given them the steel pickets, and I'm at 1.6 meters high, and it's just still continue going on, so I'm going to have to look at some option of extending that steel trellis to be able to support the tops of those heads. Coming over to the front, and I've got my planting of Asian broccoli, Kailan as it's called. I've planted out a late season planting of Kailan, and they're looking okay. There's a few ones that are not 100% performing, but with a bit of fertilizer, I think they should start firing on and coming across. And I've got my first round of wombok. Now I did harvest some of this wombok early in the in earlier videos, and slugs have been my nemesis at the moment. They've absolutely devastated. Now the heads are looking quite good still, and I'm harvesting most of it from them. They're actually quite fast and easy to grow if you can deal with the slugs and the pests. And coming across from the wombok, and I've got my third planting of cauliflowers, 15 plants. Now these ones were nursery brought. I believe they were all seasons, and that's a great variety that I have planted last year that does a really nice curd. If you notice, in between the plants I have interplanted with some fast growing crops. I've planted radishes, and I've also planted pak choi in between the rows. And now I find that with brassicas, they need a lot of space, but I don't need that lot of space at an earlier part of their growing season. So I find to maximize productivity in that area, I like to plant out, like interplant some fast growing plants. This here is my third planting broccoli, and these were planted probably 6 weeks ago now. And again, this is a quite shaded spot, so they haven't been growing as fast, but I did hill them about 3 weeks ago, added additional fertilizer, and I've done that in a previous video, and they have really responded to that. They've actually started putting in a lot of growth, and I'm expecting heads to start showing soon. I'm hoping they get a bit bigger, but definitely I'm expecting heads to start showing in that next couple of weeks time, which will be good. And following through on my succession planting of broccoli, I followed through with another round of broccoli in this location here, another 20 plants, and these are 4 weeks behind the patch, the third planting. They're looking really, really good. Besides cap protection, they've had nothing else added to them. I do need to add fertilizer to these, and I'm hoping that these will really power along once we start getting some warmer weather again. I am planting bush beans in this spot once these are cleared, and I really find that they do really well in this spot. So I've been planting them for a couple of years now in this location. Just over to the back corner of that main patch, and this is my avocado tree. Now I did prune this back pretty heavily in the last video. As you can see, I've taken around a lot of that height. It just was getting too big, and it was just overshadowing everything, and it was going to neighbors, so it was time to bring down the height. But it is starting to bloom. Yeah, you got the flowers and stuff starting to show, and that's normal for avocados. I do find that they start flowering, they start showing their buds now, and they should be flowering in mid-August. Hoping this year that I actually get a crop. Last year, big promises with a lot of flowers, lots of flowers, end up getting only one piece of fruit. So I'm hoping this year is the year. I'm hoping it will respond well to the harvest, to the prune, sorry. I am going to put a couple of bags of chicken manure around the base and install the irrigation around it. But I'm hoping just coming up into spring with the big winds that we have and the big rains, it usually generally knocks off a lot of those flowers. And just across from that is my mango tree. Now the mango tree, look, it's just looking great. Like, considering we've been having some cold weather recently in Sydney, it's been going down close to 4 degrees, 3 degrees overnight. It's looking really good, looking quite lush. There's actually very little chocolate spot on the leaves. I will give it a spray of just a bit of copper spray just to make sure I stay on top of that chocolate spot. It just seems to come across a lot more and spreads in the warmer months, so I just want to control it early. But I'm hoping, again, nothing's showing in terms of buds, but I'm hoping over the next few weeks the first buds should start showing. And coming across from the mango tree, and this was my back planting of brassicas, and I planted this in a couple of videos ago, and I planted this whole spot out. And in this plot I've got my last planting of cabbages. This variety is a nursery brought variety. I was just running out of time, and I needed to get some additional cabbages in the ground. Looking really, really good actually, considering it's cold. They are doing quite well. I've got 16 plants in total, and what I've done is, I'll bring it closer, but I've interplanted pak choi in between the rows. And again, it's like I did with the cauliflowers. It's a quick, easy way to get an extra crop out of that space while you're waiting for your main plants to grow in. On the back left here, I've got some silver beet. I planted it really late this year. Should have been planted in March. Planted it now. I'm hoping it's just starting to respond now to be in the ground, but it's going to take a long while, and I'm actually expecting it's going to bolt as soon as it starts getting warm. And I've got a few curly leaf kale there in the back. And over from the cabbages, this is my second planting of sugar snap peas, and this I'm really happy with. I did plant these out in seedlings. These are it's too cold now to plant, in my context, to plant seeds, direct seed to bed. So these are planted as seedlings. Got my string trellis going, and it's sort of really good. They are slow to grow, but I will add a few more string trellises at the front. Hoping this will be ready to harvest in mid-September. I'm over at my southern side of my patch, and here I'm over at my 5th planting of broccoli. I replaced that planting of broad beans in this spot. I found that my broad bean seeds were about 2 years old, 2.5 years old, and I just weren't germinating. They had poor germination rates, so turned over that bed and planted out about 30 seedlings here in this patch. So they've been in the ground now for about 2 weeks and should be doing okay. Coming across, and the next bed I've got my shallots, spring onions that I planted earlier, about a month and a half ago, and they're looking really good. They're ready to start harvesting. And here in the front I planted not heading lettuce, normal leaf head lettuce, which I'm coming through and harvesting the leaves. Now I did my first harvest a week ago and just growing them out again, and they're doing quite well. I'm really happy with this crop. They're actually quite an easy crop to grow. And next to them, star of winter, and this is my rocket. Now I planted this out earlier in the season, and I've just been harvesting progressively every 2 weeks for the last 2.5 months now. So I've been having a lot of leaf matter harvested off these plants, and they've been really good. They haven't bolted yet. I'm not seeing any white blister go through them, very little insect pressure. Just making sure I keep on top of that chickweed. And again, like the lettuce, I've been adding liquid fertilizer after every harvest. Coming across from there, again, I'm ready to harvest my coriander patch. I'm going to be harvesting the whole lot. There's a lot of leaves. This is looking absolutely amazing. These ones were actually the ones that I transplanted from where the old lettuce patch is there. I had planted a coriander patch at that spot, but because of the big rains, the bed got washed away. So I transplanted all those seedlings, and as you can see, you can transplant coriander. Coriander does perfectly fine being transplanted. I am going to replant this bed with more coriander, and I'm hoping to do that next week. And over here at the front, this is my last planting of wombok. I've got 5 rows of 4 plants, and I've got a couple of rows of cos lettuce in the back. Now, I feel I've gone a bit late with these womboks. They are responding really well. This is a full sun position, and they are growing really well. But I'm just anxious that I may have left it just a little bit too late, just based on last year's experience. But I'm giving it a go, hoping to harvest these in 6 weeks, 7 weeks time. Over in my south-facing beds, and there's really little going on here. The shadow wind from the fence really doesn't let you grow much. I did plant out just a few lettuce seedlings, but besides that, not much. I've got a few broad bean seedlings plants that are planted, but they're not doing much. But I am still picking mandarins, and this is looking absolutely amazing. Still got the structure in place, really does support those fruit. And yeah, hopefully this will be cleared. I need to actually add fertilizer to my citrus, and I haven't done that yet, and I'm hoping in the next 2 weeks or so the rest of this fruit will come off. But it's actually looking really good. It's really quite healthy looking fruit. So now that my garden is essentially fully planted out for winter, I won't be planting out many more winter veg. I will plant out those last round of cauliflower, and I will plant 1 to 2 more rounds of broccoli between now and spring. But that's essentially it for my winter planting. I am going to start planning out my spring garden, and I am starting off my capsicums, my jalapenos and my eggplant seedlings in a week's time, and I will start my tomato seedlings in about 3 weeks time as well. And so what I am doing in my garden at the moment is starting to plan out where I'm going to plant those veggies and start quarantining those spaces as soon as I am harvesting and clearing out my winter produce in those spaces. I'm also going to go through and actually apply my fertilizer to my citrus. I haven't actually done that, and I'm running quite late. And as we start moving towards spring, I want to start looking at planting my next ginger crop. I will be starting off my cuttings this weekend, and in about 6 weeks time I'll start looking at planting them out in pots, and I'll grow them out for the next 10 months, and the idea is I'll grow my year's worth of ginger in my own patch rather than having to buy any more next season. All in all, really happy with how my patch is looking at the moment. It's the coldest part and the slowest growing part of the year, but there's still lots of opportunities for harvests and work to be done in the patch, even though it's cold and wet. But no, I'm happy that the garden is doing it well, and I'm really excited about starting to plant my spring garden. And I'm hoping over the next few videos I'll show you what I'm planting and when I'm planting them, and I'm hoping that you will follow me in my journey into spring. Thank you very much everyone for joining me in this video. I really appreciate all the support, and I hope to see you in the next one.